Hello there, everyone. Welcome to Vulsker and Dsquare Talk on the House of D YouTube channel. I'm certainly excited, although I may not exactly sound like it. I am still under the weather, and with that, I do want to apologize for not having an episode last week. But here we are, and we've got some exciting stuff to talk about. So, of course, me, your host, D-Square, with me, of course, is Vulsker. How's that? How you doing tonight, Vulsker?
Not too bad, not too bad. It's been an interesting week. Thankfully, out of everybody I know, I'm one of the few that have not been getting sick, so hope you feel better
Yeah.
there. But I can't say I'm doing too bad.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it sounds worse than I feel, but it was definitely pretty bad. They even missed a day from work, and obviously missed some other stuff, and didn't. I usually like to get my schoolwork done before the weekend, but it was just a hard subject this week, I guess, and with being sick, just yeah, that lasted till today. So, but hey, that's all done. We're good to go, and got some great stuff here to talk about, and we can just get right into our lead topic here. Excuse me, really, which is two issues of the Hox Pox. So, Powers of X number 4 and House of X number 3. Right? Yeah. We don't have the fourth house yet. So, of course, starting with House of X number 3. My review, of course, is up on the channel, but this was I think a really tough issue for a lot of people, and I'm not sure exactly know why. And that's because, in short, the X-Men in this issue, they accomplished their mission of destroying the Mother Mold,
Hmm.
which was which is kind of a creepy scene, and we can maybe talk about that. But it was at great cost,
Yeah.
and so very emotional there. So what did you think after reading that issue and seeing the X-Men being courageous and full of valor, but ultimately all dying in various ways? Some of them very glorious, others not. What did you think?
Honestly, reading it, how do I put it in the words? I was just like, what the hell? Like, it's one of those, going back to what we talked about, the mission, it's fail to succeed, succeed to fail. No matter what, just something is going to be lost. And this issue basically, like you mentioned, just played out from the very beginning. You have bodies of mutants just laying there. What is it, Archangel is being just held, he's dead. Then you have others just sitting there bleeding, and then just the ending scene, it was insane.
Yeah.
It's one of those that really threw a wrench in some of my theories, because now we're looking at, and this is House, so not Powers, so this is
Right.
current timeline from that what we're aware of. The whole core X-Men is now gone. You have Xavier.
Right. You have Xavier and Magneto.
Yeah. But nobody really who could put up a fight other than those two.
Yes. And I do want to correct myself. It is House of X4, not House of X3 that we're talking about. Yeah. So yeah, all of those X-Men die. Angel and Husk, or Archangel rather, and Husk were killed by the blast
Mm-hmm.
that we see in the previous issue. And so Cyclops, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, they're able to, success, and Mystique.
Mm-hmm.
They all have to then go to there's 4 basically collars that hold the Mother Mold together,
Yes.
and each one of them have to do that. And
Wolverine just can't catch a break in this damn issue, but actually the last couple issues.
yeah, well, yeah, yeah, because he just regenerates. So yeah, he takes a lot of punishment. And so we see the X-Men die in various ways.
Mm-hmm.
Wolverine and Nightcrawler really have a cool scene. You know, they take care of two of the collars like right away.
Yeah.
But Mystique and Cyclops, they don't manage to get to theirs. And so the only way that like Nightcrawler and Wolverine can get the third collar off is just okay, teleport Wolverine out there.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing so, it like instantly incinerates Nightcrawler as soon as he, you know, because they're right there by the sun. So as soon as he teleports himself and Wolverine out, boom, Nightcrawler's done. He's dead. And Wolverine's just like hacking away. You know, he's getting messed up, but he's able to regenerate and whatnot long enough to just hack away at the collar.
Mm-hmm. Like as he's melting, he's just like tearing apart as he's swiping.
Exactly. Because I'm sorry, I forgot that they did manage to get the third collar, but yeah, this is the last collar, and they able to get it. So, you know, boom, you know, you deal with two more deaths there, and we still have some other mutants that played various roles. So Monet was there, and her and Marvel Girl stayed back in the shuttle basically, and that shuttle got attacked, and so Monet stuck Jean Grey in a escape capsule and launched her off, and you know, ended up dying in battle.
Yeah. And the whole purpose of, like you mentioned, for Marvel Girl or Jean Grey, she's not only basically communicating with the mutants, but she's also communicating back to Xavier and Magneto to give them an update of what's going on.
Exactly, and that's why Monet, you know, says, you know, you have to go in the capsule, I have to stay here and buy time, because you have to, you know, lose or fail, we have to, the X-Men back home need to know.
Exactly.
They need to know no matter what, and you're the only way to do that.
Poor Mystique gets played like no other.
She does, but she makes the mistake. Why is she walking around? So yeah, she is walking around as like Mystique. Like she can turn into anything, but she's just walking around in blue form. And so she gets caught by Omega Sentinel and I can never remember the name of the human scientist, but nonetheless, they see her and they are able to like open up an airlock real quick, and like sucks her out.
It's kind of almost like, honestly, I hate to say it like this, but karma. Because let's be honest, the first couple issues, she was a little bitch, and she didn't want to listen to anybody. She's always lippy and giving everybody crap, and then kind of came back and bit her in the ass.
Sure, you know, it's Mystique. Now, you know, for the crowd that knows her just from the movies, it's, you know, it's probably more significant than that. But yeah, you know, it's just Mystique. And that's, of course, why Wolverine and Nightcrawler need to do their thing. And so it's just Cyclops left, but, you know, they've done it. They've, by hook or crook, disengaged all the collars. And as they were doing that, you know, it was basically Omega Sentinel and the scientists came to the realization, okay, this is happening. So they're just gonna activate the Mother Mold. And Omega's like, you don't even know if it's sane. And I'm like, what is she talking about? Like, what? So they activate, you know, they activate the Master Mold. And it's like starting talking all sorts of craziness. But as it's falling into the sun, while Wolverine's just like slashing it in the face still, it's just, it's saying just a bunch of crazy stuff about, you know, oh, if humans made us, they're gods, but, you know, if, let me get it here. It's just, it turns out it's basically insane, and it's certainly not going to be good for anybody.
Which makes sense, because we're looking at AIs and machines, like, if it wasn't ready to be online, like anybody that has, you know, any tech background knows, you program testing, so it kind of fits the bill. But
Yeah, it wakes up, they activate it, and it immediately starts off, if man made me, then they are God, and you are Titans, their spoiled lineage. But while you war, we children sit in judgment of those above us. We judge and find you both wanting. And again, it's as it's falling, and Wolverine's still like, slashing at it. He says, the Master will hear, do you hear us, Olympus? We have stolen your fire, and with it, we will burn you all. And then, it gets destroyed. So, good thing, because that thing was going to go psycho on both mutants and humans. And so Cyclops and Marvel Girl are the only ones left. Marvel Girl, of course, is in the capsule, and Cyclops is still in the Orchis base here.
Yes.
He gets caught by Omega Sentinel and the scientist.
Blasted in the back.
Yeah, his powers get neutralized, by this device that Omega Sentinel has, and he gets shot in the face.
What did they basically say? Like it injects you with something that basically like restricts the mutant gene to prevent you from using your powers.
Yeah, nanites at the bottom of his skull, at the base of his skull.
Yeah.
Preventing him from using his mutant powers. And then, so there goes Cyclops, and then finally Marvel Girl floating in the capsule gets destroyed by, at least it implies, you don't actually see death.
But ton of Sentinels.
But, a bunch of Sentinels. And then it cuts back to Xavier and the other X-Men like Beast, Storm, Magneto. Charles says no more, and then there's a bunch of references to no more in this book. There's a lot, actually.
That last scene, though, is huge, though, because, like, what we've talked about bouncing around, like, with Xavier's just personality difference compared to all of his last interpretations. Like, you actually get to see him, like, tear up and actually like have emotions instead of just being this cocky asshole like he's been.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, so very controversial. Made a lot of people sad. I'm not sad because I am thoroughly convinced that they are basically disposable. Because if they weren't, then that's a real big problem. Yeah. Here's why. Okay, Xavier is obviously able to connect with Marvel Girl out in space.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't he use his powers and just shut all the humans down at the Orchis facility? Fair and point. Why wouldn't they send Magneto, the master of magnetism? They sent them in a metal ship.
Just pull the whole fucking thing down himself.
Right. All of that was metal from what I understand. Maybe not. I mean, they didn't exactly touch base on that, but so...
Yeah, fair point.
You're just going to go send a whole team to die so, I think that could even be the first scene we saw in the very first House of X1 where they're, being born out of these pods on Krakoa.
Very fair point. Like, maybe this is the true ending of, like, Life 9 or something, and then the very first issue is actually Life 10 or the sequel, and it's so flip-floppy. It's hard to catch on exactly what's going on.
I'm telling you that's what's going on, because, just to kind of segue, I guess we can go back and forth, but so in Powers of X number 4, the craziest thing about Powers of X number 4 is that we get to see that Magneto and Xavier met Mr. Sinister. Right. Craziness ensues. It's Mr. Sinister. I'm not going to be able to really describe it accurately. I mean, because, I'll try to at least explain a little bit of it here. So, he's basically sitting down, and everybody looks like Mr. Sinister. It's at the Bar Sinister. So they visit Bar Sinister, and so he comes in, and Mr. Sinister's like, okay, the first thing you need to know, that's a great cape. Like, why do I not have a cape like yours, Magneto? Like, okay. So that's just the sort of craziness that's going on. And then as they're kind of, so they want Mr. Sinister to basically collect the DNA of every mutant there is.
Yes.
And they're basically willing to help. Like, we've got, there's some mutant DNA that you're really going to have a tough time getting, and we have it. So, just they want him to catalog it. And, they're talking to this main Sinister, that's sitting on the throne, that is loving the cape. And he's like, I'm not really interested in that. And then, boom, his head gets blown off. And then another Mr. Sinister is like, no, I'm the real Sinister. And of course he's wearing a cape. Or what he's using as a cape.
It's the typical weird, like, arched neck, bladed looking thing.
Yeah. So the quote-unquote real Mr. Sinister is like, no, this is cool. I'm interested in this. But the twist is that Professor X is making him forget who told him to do that.
Until he's needs to know when. Which then kind of leads us into the next page with, what's it, the 10 Sinister Secrets?
Yes. So there's a bunch of these things called Sinister Secrets, and you can certainly see other videos on YouTube. They've all pretty much been deciphered, and, I certainly don't know what every one of them means, and we can kind of go through them here. But here's another, like, big question I have because of this. And this is if these Sinister Secrets are all written down in the red diamond, which like this gossip column basically, and it looks just like these other charts and everything else we've been seeing, is all the data sheets and stuff that we've seen throughout both of these series, is that all part of Sinister's collection here, or part of this gossip column or whatever this is? So.
Or it can be something like archived, like for the librarian.
Yeah, who knows? So yes, yeah. So we get these Sinister Secrets.
Fucking riddles, basically.
Yes. Like in this first one, I'm not so sure about. From what I understand, I think it refers to Mrs. Sinister, but it just says he's trying to pretend that no one noticed he was wearing red shoes. But this truly Sinister isn't fooling anyone.
Yeah.
I've had people, but I've actually seen online where people are saying he's referring to Colossus. I mean, Colossus does generally wear red shoes and just kind of look like Sinister. But I don't.
Interesting.
I don't think that's it at all.
It's Dorothy, Wizard of the Oz. That's what they're talking about.
Yeah. And then so Sinister Secret number 2. And speaking of fashion, the Whisper Network has turned into a roar regarding the return of this trend-setting mutant who has cut down in his prime. Will someone please tell all these mutants to stop wearing human clothes and join the stampede across their island full of flowers to the flower that's the fullest? Okay.
That sounds like Krakoa.
Sure, and maybe Wolverine, mutant cut down in his prime, maybe Cyclops. Number 3, Sinister Secret number 3. Years ago, a deceased red-headed pretender, probably Jean Grey, made a pact with the devil when she passed on. Most believe, or not Jean Grey, Madeline Pryor, a Jean Grey clone. Most believe that any secrets that she had went with her to the grave. Won't everyone be surprised when they find out? Not only is this not true, but she left behind a whole lot more than secrets. And there's been stuff online suggesting that like Inferno is going to be a big event here soon, which was an event from the past, and that involved Madeline Pryor and demons and hell and stuff. So maybe suggesting something there.
Wouldn't be surprising because, like, a lot of people are calling the Absolute Carnage basically like a retooled Maximum Carnage, so
yeah,
they probably could retool it somehow.
Yeah, Absolutely. Ba, ba, ba. And then number 4. While every sinister has been very busy wondering how they might be affected by current events, almost no one noticed what washed ashore. A word of advice to all things sinister. Don't embrace the revelry or there won't be anything for you to celebrate. No clue.
Makes it like it almost kind of references like the different timelines,
Right. Yeah, it does.
which is kind of weird. The fuck?
And so this other thing that is also just kind of weird, the next thing it reveals is Sinister Secret revealed. Certain people are wondering where the tyrant dispelling Sinister got his mutant gene. And while that really isn't an interesting story, whom the DNA originally belonged to is John Proudstar Thunderbird. Thunderbird actually died very early on after they relaunched the X-Men to giant-size X-Men. He's actually a big jerk, by the way. But his family, Warpath, he's a little bit more famous. But anyway, have you seen like the cover to like giant size X-Men? Do you know who I'm talking about? Thunderbird.
It's been a long time ago. Like I even
Okay.
look
He's
at
like the Indian. He's like big Indian wearing blue with like a red hawk across the chest. But so yeah, so Sinister is
looks
not
like
in
fucking what's his name from Mortal Kombat?
Oh yeah, I don't remember that character. I know the character you're talking about, but I don't remember his exact name from Mortal Kombat 3. Um, so yeah, because Sinister is not a natural born mutant. He was given a mutant gene, and now we know whose.
I did not know that, so that was a little bit of a
Yeah.
surprise to me.
Sinister Secret number 5. He's the best there is at what he does. She's married with a kid. The husband knows exactly what's going on, but who is he to point the finger? He's up to much the same and more. Maybe this is just the new normal on the mutant island. So that's obviously pointing to some sort of love triangle between Wolverine, Jean Grey, Cyclops, and whoever Cyclops is messing around with, most likely Emma Frost. But
I do recognize him actually looking. Yeah,
okay.
interesting.
So yeah, like I said, it's not interesting, but weird. Sinister Secret number 6. Everyone believed that the plan of this Progerian mutant with secret sinister ties was foiled, but little did the gifted ones know that the destroyed samples were switched out beforehand. I don't know if he's talking about the legacy virus or the mutant cure.
Yeah, that's all. What made me think the when they burnt the laboratory.
Yeah. Sinister Secret number 7. 2 brothers jumped out of a plane, and for the longest time, until he was discovered, many wondered if there was a third. If we told you there were more, would you believe me? Probably not. So that's referencing, I think, Scott Summers and his other brother, Alex Summers, Havoc. There is a third brother out there, and it looks like maybe more. I think that's what it's referencing, the Summers brothers.
Well, God knows they basically rule some of the new issues coming up.
Yeah,
The whole damn family.
Yeah, so Sinister, I mean, some of this stuff is like definitely seems like it's leading into like the Dawn of X titles. Sinister Secret number 8. For years, this fittest of all mutant has routinely surrounded himself with a particular numbered entourage. So this is really interesting to me because this is talking about Apocalypse. These hangers-on stick around for a while until they are eventually replaced with newer, more exciting members. What most people don't know is that if the original members returned, these pretenders would be dropped so fast their heads would spin.
He's talking about the
So he's talking about the original 4 Horsemen.
yeah.
And so apparently they weren't replaced because they're dead. So yeah, well that's interesting. Sinister Secret number 9. They say the kids are all right, but all is not right in paradise. This non-couple couple has been apart so long, friends are expecting that when they see each other again, fireworks are going to ensue. Is the universe ready? Judging by how unprepared everyone was for what's happened so far, we kind of doubt it. That sounds like it could be maybe a Colossus Kitty thing. I don't know. I
I
don't
was
know for sure.
thinking Xavier and Moira.
Okay, Xavier Moria, yeah, yep. She has, that's interesting, and we know they have some sort of schism at some point. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then yeah, Inferno. That's the reference to that Inferno event that happened, where Madeline Pryor was the main antagonist. Sinister Secret number 10, which brainwashed mutant Sinister was replaced long before a certain bald someone knew and had been in on the game for almost as long as the game is being played. Shh. So yeah, there you have it.
What do you think about number 10? Because that one kind of made me think a little bit.
Which brainwashed mutant Sinister? I just think that means that one of the X-Men or something, had been switched out. Um, it could even be referring to Apocalypse, which is interesting because, of course, Apocalypse and Sinister they work together for time to time, but not always.
I was thinking
Be enemies
that
too.
it's referring to Xavier brainwashing the wrong Mr. Sinister about the
Mm,
DNA, because as what we know from earlier issues, he betrayed them.
mm.
And with kind of how they kept popping in and
Yeah,
out, switching different ones, and the whole cape, and it makes me wonder if they brainwashed the wrong one, and the actual real one is in the back, well aware of what the hell's going on.
I think you're probably right. Because yeah, who can really tell, which Sinister is? I mean,
Yeah.
every time you think this is the right Sinister, it just that happened in the later Uncanny X-Men issues of the last run. There were like they were working with Sinister. He was kind of their prisoner, and he was like working with him and kind of working along with them. Kind of under protest, but kind of not. And either way, but at the end, like he gets shot in the head and just kind of dissolves. So like, okay, that obviously wasn't Sinister because
Mm-hmm.
people just don't dissolve. So, yep, you gotta be careful when you're dealing with Mr. Sinister. He is tricky. Um, then we go into an interesting scene where we see where Professor Rex first starts the process of getting to know Krakoa.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of gets a good feel for it, but does bring in Cypher to stay here at Krakoa and to learn how to communicate with Krakoa, which he does. And he learned that Krakoa was sad because Krakoa, which again is a big island, which a place where mutants go to die, but Xavier's plan is to kind of come
Make it
to
their
a
homestead.
with the help of Charles Ramsey, who learns that Krakoa is sad because it turns out that Krakoa was actually part of a land called Okara. And so this huge sword comes up from the ground with all these monsters and splits this land in half into um, Orako and Krakoa. And so these enemies come up, they split the land. Apocalypse and his four horsemen and their crew kill the monsters,
Mm-hmm.
but in order to do so, um, Apocalypse had to basically break the land asunder and pushed Orako through a chasm and sealed off that chasm, and so leaves Krakoa all alone. That's what Doug Ramsey, mutant Cypher, comes to understand about Krakoa.
It's a sad, lonely tree and island.
Yes. Yep. Not even Bob Ross can help. No happy little trees on Krakoa. They were all sad.
It's all them happy trees.
But yeah, so Cypher though does go to work on making this language, and Professor Xavier hops into the Blackbird and takes off.
And then this brings us to the future.
Yeah, and this is this future here is really kind of difficult to understand.
Yeah,
but it comes down to the machines and these humanoid blue librarians on Earth are still together. Nimrod the Greater, and it's now like that. The monitor looking thing with these, blue humanoid mutant human hybrids, who knows? And they want to ascend with the Phalanx.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is they basically have to find a way to interface with the Phalanx, because the Phalanx is machines and bonds with machines, and these blue librarians are biological.
Mm-hmm.
They do design a way to kind of quote-unquote trick it, and that's what we kind of see happening. We don't see if this transfer is successful or if it's acceptable, as they say. So who knows what's going to happen with that. But that's all I can really glean from that.
Yeah, I'm to the point where I'm just trying to pick a little bit of each little section in the future just to try to have an idea where it's going, because honestly, it's all over the damn place.
Yeah. I mean, I got a theory. I do have a theory.
Okay.
So in earlier issues, we saw that because I believe one of these librarians, either the older ones, maybe the younger, one of the ones, I think one of them's Moira. Particularly the one with the helmet.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the helmet is connected with Xavier's helmet. Could be full-on control. And that could be because Moira in the future sees this is happening and doesn't think it's a good thing. So is trying her best to manipulate things in the past, because she's out of lives. Hence why we've made it all the way, to this point. And that's her only thing she can do, is control one of her, Xavier in her past life, to prevent this from happening. Because obviously the machines win.
Yeah, very, very possible. I mean, that would make a lot more sense than what's kind of been going on. I guess we'll see. I mean, we only got a couple issues left.
Yeah. This is Hickman, which, that brings me, I guess, to kind of a news item that you had brought up to me involving Hickman. So, yeah, I mean, this is Hickman. Hickman is now done. He's doing X-Men. He's done Avengers. He's also done Fantastic Four. I'm sure, and he's done other stuff. But he really has been in kind of everything, and he may even be aligning stuff. And so you mentioned kind of something that kind of lends to that.
Yeah. About a week ago, I believe it was on Twitter, that there was this, what appears to be a cover, and it was this announcement, and it's just like tons of superheroes in the back, and it, when you're looking at like Cyclops, he's in his black and kind of bluish, kind of new age suit, Venom, Spider-Man, Nova, and you just see this bloody hand hanging dripping.
Yep. Yep.
And it just said incoming. And I didn't think anything of it. And I was like, oh, what is this? Just some little mini series or what's going on? And I was looking through some stuff earlier today, and I found a couple websites that mentioned that this is believed to be the next super mega crossover event featuring two of the X-Men that are kind of involved in what's going on with the Hoxpox. And it does mention that Jonathan Hickman is involved with the entire event, implementing his mutants and what's going on now into the story. So it looks like what we talked about a couple weeks ago, that, it looks like we can build up to some kind of major event. This would be kind of cool. Is it going to impact anything? Well, it looks like it very well might be.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Yeah. It is cool because that hopefully does, going to show us that he's going to kind of bring everything together from those different franchises. I mean, if he doesn't, I'm sure it's still going to be good, but it's just exciting to see if that happens. He's, Jonathan Hickman, definitely, he's the hottest writer right now. All the buzz, not all of it, but the majority of the buzz out there in the comic book universe, is about the X-Men right now and what's happening. Obviously recognizing what he's done with those other properties. He could be like the new Jeff, the Jeff Johns of Marvel. Jeff Johns, of course, is like the head honcho writer over at DC. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if Marvel really has that beyond Stan Lee, of course, which Stan Lee hasn't really written like that in a while, but and there's certainly been good and popular writers writing for Marvel, but maybe not one that's kind of controlling the direction, influencing everything into one direction like DC has with Jeff Johns.
And that would actually make sense too, because look at the success they've had with their movie franchises.
Yeah, absolutely.
And correct me if I'm wrong, being still, kind of new, it does appear that a lot of companies, DC, Marvel, they reboot their characters almost every other year now, without like this continuity piece. Like you even mentioned in your, how to get in a comic book video, that it's all over the place anymore. Like, and God, what has it been like since you started reading, like the 70s, 80s, 90s, since you've actually had issue 100, issue 150. Now it's like gets to 30 and then starts all over. Gets to 20, starts all over. Like, you just don't have that.
Yeah, and they tried to remedy that with the legacy numbering. I'll have to show it to you sometimes, but if you ever see a comic, I don't think the Hoxpox have anything like that, but like on some of the Uncanny X-Men, Uncanny X-Men 22, but it's legacy number 644. Issue number 644. So, yep, that is definitely, definitely long running stuff like that, and but yeah, continuity can be choppy.
I think I've actually seen some of the Spider-Man and old Venom Carnage issues actually have the legacy like banner up top.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And so that's the hope here, especially with. That's really the big hope here as an X-Men fan with this Hoxpox stuff, is that he does just get it to a place where we can have some continuity. I don't know why it's so challenging. I get it. There's a lot of writers and stuff, but I don't know. There should definitely be guidelines and editors that are making sure it's all continuity.
Does Marvel have anything comparable to the DC Black Label?
I don't think so. I know they own other comic brands, but not really. Yeah, there's...
Because, like, the big thing with the DC Black Label is their stories designed to set on their own.
Mm-hmm.
They're not made, like... So if you want to do something unique with the X-Men or Spider-Man or Ghost Rider or Daredevil, you can throw in your own 6-issue or you know, paperback trade copy, and it's not meant to be canon. It's just meant to do something unique and special, like the uh, Curse of the White Knight and the White Knight. Like, they're not
Okay.
meant to impact anything.
Well, no, because the Marvel Universe can do that on its own because of the multiverse. You know, the
Yeah, fair point.
continuity that we know is, you know, Marvel Earth 616.
Hmm.
But, you know, then we've had things like Age of Apocalypse, you know, so they can always do something like that. And, you know, the what ifs, the what if comics, you know, what if
Yeah,
the
fair point.
Hulk killed Wolverine. So they've kind of got that built in. I mean, it's to the point. I think I mentioned the Exiles
Yes.
last podcast. And the Exiles is literally a team put together. Their whole purpose is to go to different realities and prevent things from happening to make sure the timeline stays accurate.
It's fucking like Dragon Ball Z Time Force.
Yeah, and it's a team of like X-Men across these realities. There's literally one time where it was all Wolverines from different, like the Wolverine zombie was one of them.
What the
So
fuck?
yeah, like the zombies. The Marvel zombies is like another universe.
Yes.
Um,
Thanks to Reed Richards and his shit.
right, that too, exactly. That at the end of Secret Wars, like you've just got like you know the Richards family with Molecular Man and the power of the Beyonders, like you know creating realities. So yeah, that's kind of built into the regular Marvel universe.
Fair point. Fair point. Because I know DC does, like with Flashpoint and stuff like that, but they actually kind of keep all that canon and don't like use it as different like kind of paths, and then they always blow it up and cause it to be one, and then extend it again. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah, and that's why we get a lot of issue number ones, and the sad part about that is a lot of people that you know are longtime fans. It aggravates us,
Hmm.
but it does boost sales.
Yeah.
Like it does, you know. So you know, I don't think that's going to go anywhere soon.
So I have a question for you, since we're talking about like alternate universes and
Okay.
timelines and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you saw this the other day too. On Twitter, Superhero Speak brought up an interesting article that they saw in regards to the Joker film,
Okay.
and it potentially being set up as a Flashpoint alternate Joker. What do you think about that?
That would be great. Um, I mean, but yeah, I saw this and I also commented on that same Twitter there by Superhero Speak, which I'm actually going to be on their next episode. So look out for that. I'll be on their podcast talking with, you know, JD and John and Dave there. So check that out. But anywho, you know, I had said like, well, how do you get darker than pitch black? Because the DC movie universe is already like dark. So,
Yeah, yeah, fair point.
but nonetheless, though, no, this Joker movie looks like good, and I don't want it to be wasted. I don't want it to be, you know, I want it. I want us to be able to take that character and use him. So if that's what that means, then great.
And I agree with you on that. If that's what they're doing, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
100%. I will go support it. I'll see it. Fuck, I'll probably go see it a couple different times because as good as they're saying it's going to be. My issue is, and Walking Phoenix is known, I guess, for this, is he doesn't like doing sequels.
Yeah.
So to me, as of right now, everything I've heard, everything I've seen looks like it's basically equivalent to a one shot. And I don't like that. Like, Batman is, they're saying, like 8 years old in the movie. So he's just
Hmm.
young Bruce Wayne. Thomas is still alive. Like, it's almost no physical way that you can connect it to an older Batman at any point in the future, unless something like Flashpoint was to happen.
Well, then yeah, if that's true, if Joaquin Phoenix doesn't do sequels, then maybe they just wanted to do it. They thought it would be so good that it was worth just letting doing a one shot. Um,
It's gonna be another Venom
okay,
movie.
yeah. Uh,
No connection to the actual source itself. Because it's even using a different name for Joker too, like one that I don't think's been used before.
yeah, no Arthur Fleck, no.
Yeah.
Nope. So yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly why they're doing it unless they're. It really just seems like a character study and putting like a Joker skin over it so people care.
Fair
I don't
point.
know.
I mean, let's be honest, Batman Joker makes money.
Right. Well, and they know that nerds generally have good chunk of change of disposable income. So
Just don't burn the fans, which it
well,
appears
no
that
one
they may
cares.
be. Like,
Yeah, they don't care about that. They never have. Sons of bitches.
yeah, fair point.
I was
I
so
mean,
excited for X-Men 3. So excited. Motherfuckers.
you were also very excited for Phoenix.
You know what I generally was excited, like was Apocalypse.
Oh yeah, that's
Like Days of
that
Future
was a
Past was
top-build trailer.
great. And then at the end of that, like you saw like all those people Chin and Sabanur, and
Yeah,
then yeah,
Portrayal.
that's what they come up with.
Yeah, the Ivanhoes of X-Men.
Yeah, the Ivan, yeah, X-Men Ivanus. That's what they should call it.
Which is just,
Oscar Isaac plays Ivanus.
yeah, that was pretty bad. But since we were also on the topic of Batman, one of the things that I found interesting that I talked to you a little bit too was for those who are familiar with the Dark Knight Rises trilogy, Frank Miller has announced that he will be doing a sequel to the original trilogy called Dark Knight Returns: The Golden Child.
Damian Wayne, I take it, or
Oddly, it's actually Carrie Kelly is now Batwoman, and
okay.
she is training two of Superman's children,
Oh,
Laura and Jonathan Kent. I'm assuming maybe they're twins. I don't know, but
I don't know. I think Jonathan Kent's been around for a while.
says Jonathan is the tutelar golden child, a hero with incredible mental powers, despite his young age.
Hmm.
So sounds like it's going to be interesting. I'm not a huge fan of Superman, but I'm curious to see this. And based on what it's saying, is that it is going to be under their Black label, and it is going to be published as a full 48-page graphic novel instead of actually doing issues.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, it's as long as they acknowledge, it's a one shot, and that going in, it sounds cool. But I'm with you. I'm not really big into to Superman and DC in general. I mean, I enjoy stuff, but it's usually kind of one shot stories. Killing Joke, Kingdom Come. I did like Blackest Night and Brightest Day. I think I read the Brightest Day, but the Blackest Night stuff was really cool.
I actually have that, the Omnibus in my Amazon cart because they have it for half off right now. I almost bought it. It's $70, but it's literally like every single story, every side comic, everything, and one giant collection.
For what story?
The Darkest Night
Oh,
story.
nice. You said you did buy that, or you almost
I
bought it?
have it in my cart. I'm thinking about it.
It's $70.
Yeah, it's usually 150 because those omnibuses are fucking huge and expensive.
Yeah.
It's half off right now.
Oh man,
And I
that's
stand
tempting.
corrected. So even though they mentioned up top it was going to be a 48 page just book, it is actually going to be separated into individual issues. So that's article basically contradicting itself. So I am staying corrected, and it goes on sale December.
Oh, okay. All
Fucking
right.
IGN.
All right. Well, in other news, not sure if you've seen this online, but there are articles talking about the possibility of Professor X and or Magneto being cast as a different race than they are in the comic books. What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, don't do it. Just don't do it. And we've seen how that can just completely ruin characters, aka Johnny Storm in the last Fantastic Four film. They had to alter the whole storyline of the children to even make it make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really the key there. When you look at, what they did with Nick Fury, it works because it just doesn't matter that much to the character. Nick Fury's American. But yeah, when you have like a non-American character, such as a Jewish person, a Jewish, it's, a World War II, concentration camp survivor.
It's a story. Like, you're literally taking what caused him to hate humans out of his entire history. Like,
and Xavier, who's obviously privileged, so it doesn't really work for the characters, so you really would have to change those characters drastically. And I'm not here to say that it definitely will not work. They could maybe do something to where Magneto doesn't grow up Jewish or from being oppressed in World War II in concentration camp. It could be, okay, they do being oppressed as an African American, and it kind of have the same effect. I see where that could happen.
Fair point.
But I don't really see a reason to do that. If you want to be inclusive, the X-Men and comic books in general have a lot of things that you can do that with. Storm would be a prime example of if you wanted to have an African American be a major character. Storm's right there.
And I mean, let's
Bishop,
be honest too.
I mean,
like, let's flip it. Let's turn Colossus into a white redneck instead of Russian.
Right. It doesn't exactly. It would just be, which is actually why I don't like the Apocalypse version of him, because that's kind of what he acts like. Anyway.
Right. You know what? Let's make Storm white or Asian. You would hear people lose their shit.
And rightfully so, because it's just not the essence of the character, and so there's really not a great reason other than pandering, which it doesn't work for me. I have no problem with them focusing on characters other than white characters. There's certainly a lot of ways for them to do so, and that's perfectly fine and great. But I don't think it makes sense in this instance.
No, I agree with you, and your Nick Fury statement is exactly just spot on. If it doesn't screw the character up, then it doesn't care. I mean, as soon as they even did that in the movies, now Nick Fury is black throughout all comics.
Right.
Like, they completely changed based off of how well he was received.
But not only that, but I guess here's my other qualifier. If the character is that different race in comics, and you say, okay, but they're going to be the inspiration, I'm totally cool with that. And Nick Fury was already African American in the Ultimate Universe, and that's what they pulled him from. So there was already precedence here. So that's why, hey, no problem. I totally get it, and it worked, obviously.
Tell me David Hasselhoff wasn't the main comic book one at the time?
No, he was. No, he was in the 616 universe, but
Yeah.
in the Ultimate Universe, which predates the MCU,
Mm-hmm.
he
Yeah,
was
because I was
black.
still in middle school, I believe, when Spider-Man
Yeah,
Ultimate came out. Like,
yeah.
god damn, it's been forever.
So there is already some precedence there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do that without there being any precedence, then that means you're not being true to the character, which I think is a big mistake.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you.
Right, and so in other news, interesting stuff here with this Disney Plus. News is coming fast and furious about that. I know we'll be getting it, which is cool because it comes with Hulu. But so there's going to be a new Hawkeye series.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
Um, Honestly, I'm kind of excited because we didn't get too. I mean, we got a decent amount, but too much into his alter ego after everything started happening, where he's more on the darker side. And let's
Mm-hmm.
face it, Infinity War, he kind of got shafted, like because it wasn't even existent in the whole movie. Um,
Yeah, he tried to kill himself to save a scroll.
yeah,
That's my
it's
theory.
fair point. I mean, yeah. But it's interesting because rumors are that Haley Steinfeld is in talks to play Kate Bishop, which is his daughter, which we see is a little younger in the Endgame. And for anybody that's somewhat familiar, knows that that's who eventually takes up the mantle, and he trains her to basically replace him.
Yeah, there was a really good Hawkeye run that a lot of people liked that involved that there. So, yeah, there's a lot of excitement and buzz around really more than anything. I mean, maybe the Doctor Strange movie, but,
Mm-hmm.
this the Hawkeye series has really been something that has generated a lot of buzz because of that story arc in the comics being
Mm-hmm.
so loved.
And I'll admit it too. Like, I think Jeremy Renner is awesome as Hawkeye. And I know there was rumors in the past where he wanted to exit early, and then leading up to Endgame, he's though technically character wise is the reason that Black Widow's out of here. So they need to do something with him. I'm just a little I'm a little intrigued yet nervous about who they're looking to cast. Because don't get me wrong, I think Haley is absolutely gorgeous, and she was awesome and hilarious in Bumblebee, which honestly, that movie alone is probably the best Transformers movie to date. But
Oh,
other
yeah.
than that, she's really only known for Pitch Perfect, which is a cappella comedy.
No, what's that?
Yeah, it's something. It's a trilogy. She's in 2 and 3, and it's basically like a prude comedy about a cappella while in college, and they're pretty freaking hilarious. But
Okay.
yeah, it's nothing action based or anything serious. Which, if she's taking the mantle of a superhero, it's yeah.
Well, I did enjoy her in Bumblebee, and you're absolutely correct that that is the best Transformers movie. And it's not that I'm not one of these people that hates on the Michael Bay stuff. They're awesome movies, and I enjoy them quite a bit. They're good Transformer movies. I,
1 through 3.
and I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the quality kept up, but I still enjoy them. But I enjoy Bumblebee the most because that it gets it right, and I'm thankful that they have decided to, because they were going to keep doing sequels to the Michael Bay stuff,
Yeah.
and then they decided not to, which is fine. I think they could shoot off from Bumblebee, although Bumblebee seems to tie into the old ones. I don't know. So I don't know. They just need to know that Bumblebee is how you do it. It's how they should look. It looks cool. It doesn't all have to be shiny, gray, pointy things flipping around.
The
Like,
Cybertron fight scene was literally fucking amazing.
yeah, absolutely. So, hey, I'm sure she's going to do great. I just don't know how excited for Hawkeye I am in any form. To me, I think Jeremy Renner did a great job, and yeah, maybe he wanted to exit the role at some point, but I think that's because he maybe thought he was getting some of that Bourne legacy money. I don't know, but yeah, he might as well stick with this because he does a good job, and he does make it interesting as much as that sort of comic book character can be interesting to me. It's just without the superpowers, and you're not Batman or an Iron Man. You're the guy with the bow and arrow. All the cliche jokes
Yeah.
that he has fun with. He obviously has can bring that kind of brings over that sense of humor to the character, and that's why it does work. So
What like Age of Ultron, where
yeah,
I can kill you right now, nobody
yeah,
would know.
yeah.
There was it.
The building is flying. The building is flying. I have a bow and arrow. None of this makes sense. So
Oh
yeah,
god.
yep. All right. Well, I think that's gonna do it for us here tonight. Join us next time, where we'll of course be talking about the next Hoxpox issue. See if we can learn any more about this crossover event. Absolute Carnage #3 comes out, which Vulsker and I both get, and I'm sure Vulsker will also be able to clue us in on what's going on with the side issues here, which is nice. Thank you very much for that, Vulsker.
Oh, totally. I could tell you it's going to be fun because this week was pretty badass. So I can't wait to see how it starts to tie up a little bit next week because yeah, it was some exciting things. Like yeah, I'm excited to talk about it.
Awesome, awesome. Can't wait, guys. Until then, we will see you very, very soon. Peace and love, everyone.
Peace out, guys.